Hi there, my name is Will from Border Audio, and today I'm here to show you another new Kontakt instrument that I've created. This one is called Degradation Engine. Now that's a name that promises a lot, but actually explains rather little, so let me just explain the concept and then I'll show you around this thing. Now Degradation Engine is, to my knowledge, a completely new take on a synthesizer. It combines the analogue tones that we all know and love, but it also mixes in a different kind of analogue magic. The magic of Now, Degradation Engine is a fully featured polyphonic synthesizer, and with that you have all of the features that you'd expect from a synth, your envelope, filters, even some effects. But what sets it apart is its unique approach to oscillators. You have two oscillators with your usual waveforms, sawtooth and square. These are actually sampled from one of my favourite synths, the Korg Volca Keys. But you also get access to something called loss. And these loss controls give you access to a more fragile, brittle sound, which comes from running those raw waveforms through cassette tapes. This gives you access to a whole new world, something, dare I say, a little more lo-fi. Now, combining analog synths with tape gives you access to some properly unique textures. Imagine your traditional synth sounds, and then imagine something a little like a mellotron, these tape-based instruments. And then imagine the ability to go anywhere between those worlds, to occupy any space, pan it freely, run it through reverb, filters, envelopes, even some overdrive. Imagine all of the possibilities and uniqueness that affords you, and maybe you can start to see why I'm so excited about this instrument. So in a minute, I'll give you a quick tour around this thing. I'll give you an overview of the features and show you how it all works. Before then, I should just note that you will need the full version of Kontakt in order to run this plugin, and specifically, you will need version 7.6.1 or newer. With all of that said, let's have a look at Degradation Engine. So, when you first open up Degradation Engine, this is how it's going to look. You can see that the interface is split into a few sections with oscillators on the left, a mixer section in the middle, and the ADSR, a filter, and some effects on the right hand side. If I play the instrument very briefly without touching anything, it's going to sound a bit like this. What you heard there is two oscillators at once. They're both turned up and they're panned apart from each other for a rich, wide sound. It's a nice enough starting point, and I could filter that, or put it through a reverb or some overdrive. Or I could shape its envelope either using the ADSR. To get to the heart of Degradation Engine though, we're going to have to take a closer look at this oscillator section on the left. And before we do that, I'm actually going to simplify this patch. So we'll turn the second oscillator off, we'll pan oscillator 1 to the middle, and reset all of those controls that we just messed about with. So if I play now, what you'll hear is just the raw sound of one single oscillator. So how can we adjust this sound? The first knob that we have on the left is simple enough. This lets you choose the wave shape, from the saw wave, which you just heard, to a square wave, which sounds like this. And of course, you can crossfade anywhere between those two wave shapes, which is actually something that you can't do on the Volca Keys, which I sampled from. The second control here is where it starts to get a bit more interesting, because this is where we can introduce degradation to the sound of our oscillator. What this is going to do is crossfade between a raw analog waveform and the sound of that waveform degraded through a microcassette. So let me show you what happens if I press a key and slowly fade in this control. And of course this works in combination with the wave shape. So we can hear anywhere between a saw wave and a square wave, and we can degrade either signal as much or as little as we'd like. Now I can practically hear your excitement already, but there is one more final control here, and it's quite possibly my favourite. This is called the loss type, and it lets you control that degraded signal further. If you've ever messed about with cassette tapes, you'll know that part of the fun is that you can play them back at different speeds. What you just heard is the full speed playback, but using this control we can also access half speed playback. And again, if you're into tape, you'll know that half speed can be absolutely brilliant. So if I turn the loss amount all the way up, let me show you what happens as I gradually change the loss type. We start hearing that half-speed signal. I think it's much more warm and mellow than the full-speed signal, which is more brittle and toppy. And once more, all of these three controls work in combination, so we can be anywhere between our waveforms, with as much or as little degradation as we want, and with complete control over the character of that degradation. Hopefully you think that's pretty cool, but we've only been listening to one oscillator so far, and we've been hearing it completely raw, no effects, envelope, anything. So let's make a sort of pad sound, for example. We'll turn up the attack, we'll have a long decay and release, maybe the sustain comes down a bit, and we'll give it some reverb. And while we're at it, we'll also bring in this second oscillator to thicken up the sound. We can pan them both about, so we'll have one on either side, and I want this to be a square wave, about 3/4 degraded at half speed. Let's hear how that sounds, and as I play, I'll mess about with some of the parameters to change the sound even more as we go. That's quite cool, right? And did you hear what I did right at the end there, throwing in a little bit of overdrive? That's actually one of my favourite parts of the instrument, and it's something that I'd really recommend messing with. That little bit of overdrive lets you really lean into and exaggerate the imperfections of the tape sounds. And if you take it to an extreme, you can go to some really cool, almost My Bloody Valentine type places. That's about all I have to show you of the instrument. I'm sure you can see that it gets to be pretty deep, but I've also made sure that it's super user-friendly and super easy to navigate. I've put together a little demo using this instrument. It uses 3 instances of Degradation Engine, I believe, and I'm going to play that for you now. Enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this demonstration useful, interesting. Maybe if I've done my job, you might even be tempted to grab yourself a copy of Degradation Engine. And if that's the case, I'll provide links to purchase below this video. In any case, thank you very much for watching. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel. This is only the second instrument that I've created with Border Audio, and I'm already working on the third. So stay tuned. In any case, keep on making unique music. Have a brilliant day. See you later.